Hello, and welcome to Making Sense of It. I am Mona Duncan, your moderator, and this program is our gift to you from the Glasser Institute for Choice Theory. And we have someone present every week that is part of the Glasser Institute, and today's guest is Robert Martin. And he is a psychologist that agrees with William Glasser's concepts as well as adding his own flavor to it. And he is a psychologist and an educator with Truman State University. And today he is going to be talking with us about connect and involve, that we connect through conversation and then we involve with how we can help a person or how maybe they can help us. So welcome to everyone that is here. I need you to know that after this 20-minute presentation and we close down the airways, you will be asked to give your input. And so I would encourage you to stay on after the presentation is over with. So in the meantime, welcome everyone. Welcome, Robert. How are you doing today?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate this.
Well, we're
And
ready for you to take over and teach us about connecting and leading and
I look
involving.
forward, I look forward to the conversation afterwards, and to been invited to present on April 14th, and I want your input as to what would you like to hear more about. So, and I do know that this will be presented online, so more people will pick it up there. So anyway, first of all, I'm very grateful to Carleen Glasser, who, as you can see from the title here, wrote a foreword for the book. And originally, Bill Glasser had written a little foreword, but I just didn't finish the book before he died, and so I wasn't able to use his foreword. Because the book had changed so much. So anyway, so the key idea, all of these key ideas, I think, really tie in so well with Glasser's ideas on school, with choice theory, and with reality therapy. So, and I originally started with reality therapy, and I've used it a lot in my private practice. So anyway, the two key ideas is for teachers to improve achievement and to improve what's going on in their classes is to connect with their students and involve them in learning. And that's what the book is about. There's a lot of slides here, so I'm going to go through these very quickly, if I can. Okay. Mona, this is not, okay, there we go. So, so the book is a practical guide, and that's all I need to see. It's a K through 12 book, and so I think this is applicable to teachers but also to parents. So the idea is, okay, Mona, I'm going to kind of see if I can make this a little smaller, because it's what's happening.
I don't think you can because you've got it on where we can see it well.
So right, and I can't.
Just talk to us from your screen.
Okay, I'll just have to guess what's here because I can't see it all. So the whole point is that for this to be a practical guide. It's not a theory. It's really about, here are specific things that you can do to work with kids. And I think this is true anytime you're working with learners.
You can diminish the, if you've got our little pictures to the side and they're covering your screen, you can diminish those. Go up and diminish those on your screen.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much. So the key idea in this book is that what we always want to do, whether we're doing choice theory or reality therapy or standing up and working with students, is you want to work with small changes. small changes that resonate with you, that resonate with your students, that fit your situation, and that are doable, manageable, and measurable. So the thing about connect and involve is that we need a third thing, and that is there's never enough, teachers always say this, there's never enough time to do everything. And I would maintain, there's only enough time to teach the big ideas and the key skills and to get students practicing those. And if you do that, you will have enough time to involve learners. So what are the big ideas and key skills? They're the ideas and skills that are needed to increase achievement, prepare students for the next class, prepare students for high stakes testing, and also meet state and national standards. Because if you're not doing that, then you're really anxious because it's like, oh, what's going to happen at the end of the year when my students are not doing well? So this is really about being humanistic, but also working toward achievement. So the idea is that we're learning the big ideas and through using the key skills, developing the key skills through processing the ideas. So it's all about practice. It's a big circle. It's an interaction. It's not this teacher standing up and presenting. So when you make a small change in your own or your students' behavior, then you're beginning to do some things that can work. The way this works for the teacher is you increase your expertise by making small change that becomes a habit and that allows you to handle more complex situations because you've automated things. And the same way when you're working with the students, you're increasing achievement by helping them to make small changes that become habits that allow them to learn complex material. So it takes a while, but this really fits in with Glasser's whole idea of like, well, you got to practice something about 10 or 20 times. It's not a one-time thing. You do it over and over and you get used to it. So we start out with the small changes that become habits that allow you to do complex tasks. And that's what's going to help. And at the same time, you're doing this to increase student cooperation and belonging and involvement. We're always trying to meet student needs. We're going to do this through a lot of different ways, including ways that aren't always used so much in the classroom. One is conversation, written prompts, connecting to subject matter, getting to know students' backgrounds and neighborhoods and culture so that we're always oriented to who the students are and what they already know. So this really fits in so well with choice theory because we're trying to increase student agency and responsibility. We're trying to move them toward solving their problems, expand their mental pictures, and meet their needs for belonging, power, fun, and freedom. So one way of doing this, of course, as you all know, is through reality therapy. And I've kind of summarized this with 4 questions with working with the students. What do you want? Is what you're doing working? What can you do about it? When can you do it? And then coming back later, how did it work? And I did this with students over and over and over in my working with students as a psychologist in school and also in a private practice, and it works. So we've already gone just reviewing here. The big thing is to do what's called backwards planning, and that is teachers as a group or as individuals, this is what we're trying to do in Missouri, is the teachers examine the national and the state standards and the curriculum standards and identify the big ideas and key skills. Because in most states, what you're supposed to teach for each year is like, there's a stack of goals this big. And what you have to do is to pick out what are the big ideas and key skills. And if you cover those, you'll end up covering this other stuff as well. And then you decide how many weeks you're going to give to each big idea and each skills, and then you plan your lesson from that, instead of the way I used to do, which is planning one day at a time. And it's like, no, I hated planning like most teachers. But as I've gotten more into this, which the state of Missouri is really encouraging, I found this was much better, because it was much easier to really, once you've identified what the big content ideas are and the big skills are, then you're on your way to weekly lessons plans and to establishing effective control. So teachers tend to hate doing lesson plans. And I hated it too, but the longer I taught, the more I found that this approach really works, where you see your lesson plans as a set of teacher skills. It's an opportunity to build on students' prior knowledge. You're not trying to cram stuff down the students' throats. You're really trying to involve them in starting where they are and improving what they're doing. So one of the ways of doing this is to use scoring guides, which I'm hoping you're all familiar. It's basically, you have a list of things the students need to do, and there's a whole chapter on how to do this. And then you teach, you're not just grading, you're teaching the students, oh, here are all the things that need to be in, that you need to know when you take the test, or you do this project, or whatever it happens to be. So you want to involve students in using, the real power of using scoring guides is that you're teaching, the students are scoring examples, then they're scoring their own work, they're revising their own work. Big Glasser concept allows students to revise their work until they get it right. And through doing that, you're increasing quality learning. The whole idea of Glasser, the idea of quality learning. So to kind of summarize, everybody wants to know about, well, how do you get students motivated? And the idea is like, first you have to get motivated, then you get acting. And this says, no, you got to turn that on its head. You take a small action, you feel motivated, and you move to task completion. The idea is to make small commitments and to start with the meat and potatoes, and then start with the most difficult thing, and then eat dessert last. Do the more fun things as you get on into the period. And then if students don't always like what they're doing, it's like, give them success, because liking tends to come after success. If they're doing things that you're asking them to do, if they're able to do it, they feel success, they're more likely to like it. So what we want to do here is to increase time on task, automate the lower level skills, and that will increase student confidence. And then you're always trying to get students to a little tiny bit beyond their current skill level. So not too difficult, but not too easy. So the whole key idea here is to teach procedures. Because when you automate a procedure, it becomes a habit, and then you're able to move them into more complex ideas and more complex skills. So the best use of class time is to transform everything into practice. And the way you do that is that you have procedures that make it easy to do that. And that's what, for example, Glasser would encourage people to teach the students to use reality therapy, so that they would learn how to take responsibility and how to get their work done. So another idea is to increase mastery through practice and revision by using passes. You do a rough draft, you improve it, you improve that. Maybe you tell a little story to begin with. maybe have a conversation of, okay, well, I'm going to do this project. What am I going to do it about? You can have them do it with each other. You don't have to do everything by yourself. That's the whole idea of using small groups, is that you're going to maximize practice. So if the teacher calls on one student at a time, wow, you can only, even in an hour period, even in a hour period, you can only call on a few students. You break students into groups. Let's say you have 22 students, you break them into groups of 2. That's 11 times as many, 11 times as much practice as calling on students one at a time. And each student is responsible for their own behavior. And I go into how to do that in a way that gives the teacher effective control. You're not letting the students loose. They're always under control, and they're always also free because they've learned procedures. Sometimes you need to do projects, or teachers love doing projects. This chapter really goes into how can you do projects where students are learning big ideas and key skills. And it's a fun thing, but they're also learning key ideas. But also the thing about projects is there are things that you can't learn any other way. Things like higher order thinking, deep understanding, creativity, more complex skills. You don't do that through worksheets. You often do that through short projects, sometimes intermediate projects, or even long projects. Depends on whatever the teacher's comfortable, whatever you're comfortable. Chapter 12 is on using conversation to build community and also to build skills. And you can do this within a lesson. So a lot of teachers don't do this because they don't feel like they have the skills. So what I really try to do is to introduce some of the Glasser ideas. And I quote Glasser. I love what he said. What I heard him say this over and over. It's like, well, I didn't know how to do this, so I went in and I did it over and over, and I learned how. So I really love his courage and his willingness to put himself on the line. The whole thing is working with students low achieving students. In order to do writing, they need to be good at reading. To do reading, they need to be good at speaking. So if you begin to see speaking and reading and writing together, you don't just cut out conversation because they have to spend a lot of time reading and writing. The conversation is necessary, even just for a minute or 2 minutes, whatever, because that's how low achieving students pick up conversation, pick up ideas, get used to working in a more effective way, all of this sort of thing. And then finally, sometimes, particularly in high school, teachers want to present. And I think that's fine. You know, I would never say don't do presentations. Presentations are great. The point is, how can I do these in ways that involve the students, that get them to pay attention? And there are lots of ways to do this. And I kind of go into a lot of that. And then also stand up skills for presenting in students in ways that they're going to understand better. But then you're constantly checking for understanding. So then the afterword, which is one page in the book, is really saying, okay, well, whatever you've learned, the key idea is to, every time you go into the classroom, to make small changes, to observe what happened, to reflect on what happened, and to revise your plan, what you're going to do. So always try to make, what I learned to do by doing it, it was always trying to make some changes at the end as to, well, how could I do this better next time? And that's what the book does, is it's really a it's a kind of a guidebook. You know, you don't have to read it straight through. You can, and key idea here is all the big ideas of the book are in the headings and the subheadings. So literally you could read the whole book by just reading the headings and the subheadings. So anyway, how much time did I, was
You're
that about
good.
20 minutes, Mona?
You're good, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, that's now. Okay, so I'm going to stop screen sharing so I can see everybody. And okay, so there are two. Okay, Sharon DeCourty, hi. I already met everybody else. Are you a teacher?
No, I'm not a teacher.
Okay, are you a parent?
Actually I'm not a parent. I do leadership training and coaching.
Well, hey, I think this all applies. Yeah, because it's my whole concept. Thanks for saying that word, because it's like, for me, a teacher is this way of approaching teaching. The teacher becomes a coach.
Well, and I think what struck me about what you were saying is that we think of learning as something one does in school. And if leaders applied those same principles into how they inspire people and how employees, make a small change, create a habit, be able to do big things, it's the same principles.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
Robert, you were talking about, I like the way you talked about, forming habits, and you do it by practice. But then when you begin to look at it automating, can you kind of explain that to us a little bit more, how it automates?
Sure. Oh, and I want to say hi to Sue first. Hi, Sue. So, and please make comments and so on. I want this to be a conversation as much as possible. Okay, so the way I really learned this was I have a catamaran, which is a sailboat, and you have to put up this huge mast, and it weighs about 60, 70 pounds. And if it falls on you, it's dangerous. And so I was consulting with somebody from Florida, I'm in Missouri, about how to do this. And he said, do it this way. And he gave me a procedure, and he said, do it the same way every time, all the time. And that really, it was like, oh, this sums up everything that Spencer Kagan talks about, everything really that fits in with Glasser and that. I mean, that's the secret of reality therapy, of how you become good at being a reality therapist, is that you're very flexible, but you have the steps, and you do those steps in a very flexible way, but you do the same steps every time, all the time. And the same way when you teach students how to meet in teams, like how to do think, pair, share, stop, pair, share. This is all in Glasser's books on how to have students work in teams. And absolutely, it applies to families, to employees, as Sharon was speaking, saying, that's how you get things automated.
And then,
but that's tough, because it's like, it takes so much mental effort. But I try to make this easy by talking about some of the same things that you can find in Glasser's books and Spencer Kagan's books. And then I give lots of resources. There are more Glasser books as resources at the end of the chapters than anybody else, but then also other people like Spencer Kagan and so on, who really teach how to do this. And the thing is I've used this with teachers, so it's like you can use this with kindergartners or retiring teachers or retired teachers or whatever. Age makes no difference. It just working with your group.
Well,
So,
thank you, Robert. You've given us a lot of things to think about and some really good, and Robert's going to be back again, and he's going to kind of delve into some of these things that he talked about today, and would like for you to put in the chat what specifically you would like to have him to expand more on. In the meantime, we will close out for today. Thank each of you for being here, and stay tuned, because once we stop, Robert will be talking with you individually. And have a great day and good mental health.
okay, and everybody please stay